He would also always say to them, don't listen to the noise. There will be a lot of noise that will come onto your path as you walk through life. Always stay very true to who you are at your core and what is in your heart, and don't listen to the noise. The first words Gene Keluche ever said to me were, "Hi, I'm the assistant tennis pro. How would you like to go cowboy dancing?" And I looked at this very handsome man who did appear as if he had just walked off the tennis courts. He had a white gym towel wrapped around his neck. And in my very polite Southern, I said, "No, thank you."
Kind of a quiet power or quiet strength to him. Whereas his presence, he didn't necessarily need to be, again, the focal point or necessarily central to anything, but you always felt, everyone around him felt stronger when they had him on their side.
For us and for myself, I think it was just seeing my dad, how he interacted with others, how he listened. That was a huge thing as well, as just he really was present and listened to every conversation, and whoever was a part of that conversation felt like they had really, made an impact for him.
When he was born, he was placed in a foster home, and the first 12 years of his life, he grew up as Gene Williams. He had no idea that his mom was full-blood Native American from the Winnemem-Wintoon tribe.
What I learned is he told his story about being Wintoon and what it meant to be Wintoons and Native man.
I think that it really taught Gene a lot about life, about spirituality, about who he was as a person.
Just growing up in Dunsmuir and just his cultural journey, but then also, going through the Navy and then going through Harvard, and just really starting to just carve his own path, I think is just a great story.
So when he talked about trauma and the history of Native people in flight, he got very empathetic and emotional. So that was a quality that really resonated and conveyed to his audience and the people around him, because here they saw this person as a very genuine and compassionate individual. He mostly focused on wanting to utilize his resources and his network to help natives that aspire and dream to be pilots or a scientist or an Olympic hopeful or Olympian for that matter.
He somehow managed to develop a relationship with Bill Hybl, who at the time was the head of the U.S. Olympic Committee, and foster a relationship that could be supportive of Native young people aspiring to be Olympian.
Down at the Cheyenne Mountain Resort, he was the owner and the manager.
He always opened the doors to the Cheyenne Mountain Resort to anyone who came through, friends from the Harvard Business School, Navy friends, his tribe of community friends.
He and his wife Frida founded their Native American nonprofit called the Native American Sports Council, because he was very interested in promoting and supporting Native young people to aspire to be Olympic athletes and learn what it would take to get there.
Gene came, he said, "I've got an idea." Within the U.S. Olympic Committee, the Native American Sports Council. And I said, it sounds good to me. But when I'd introduce Gene to people and say, he's got a great idea here, I think this is something we should do, his exuberance, his enthusiasm, and his knowledge really prevailed on people.
There's been a lot of progress made with indigenous sports. Gene Keluche was one of the forerunners there, very involved at the golden years of my experience being a Native American Olympic gold medalist.
And in the process, because he was also very creative and artful, he and his wife aspired to somehow incorporate the Olympic rings into the logo of the Native American Sports Council. Somehow or another, they convinced Mr. Hybl to allow them to do that, because I know, those rings are very, very well protected.
What he did was he created another layer of opportunity for natives to say, I'm going to take back that sport and try to compete at the next level.
It was absolutely amazing to watch him. And in his business capacity and also just his vision, he became connected with efforts to found what is now the National Museum of the American Indian. He was co-chair of what was called the International Founders Council. That was the forerunner of the actual establishment of that Smithsonian Museum that sits on the mall in Washington, D.C.
Gene had a spark, and you could see the spark coming, actually, and you knew he's going to have an idea for you. And that idea had been thought through, but it was also an idea that was emotional, one that he really cared about. And that was his reflection throughout his career in promoting opportunity and also the ability to look forward for Native Americans.
He was always so flexible and creative and just so affable with people. I mean, he was truly an amazing individual. His whole life, or at least the part that I was part of.
Gene always wanted people to think bigger, you know, to imagine what it could be.
He was very busy and everything like that, but he always put family first. So from a dynamic standpoint, we were very fortunate to always have that support. But at the same time, it's like, you know, he would never shut you down, but he would, you know, continue to give that support and allow you to kind of, with bumper rails on, allow you to experience life in your own, you know, own way, but with some guidance.
He always made you feel that you were important, you were respected, and what you're going to do together. His tenacity overcame so many obstacles, and, you know, he didn't let the difficulties, the tough times, the no-sayers win. He said, we have an idea, let's go do it.
You know, he understood how to get an advance through education and how to, as minorities and people of different backgrounds, is that if you're going to compete and create change across the landscape, you got to be able to do it at various levels.
He just was a very special man, larger than life, cared deeply about his fellow human beings, wanted to help in any way he could. And he was always very honest. I'm trying to think, if Gene happened to be sitting in this chair, what would Gene say? I think Gene would say, listen to your heart. Trust who you are. Appreciate your blessings in life. Appreciate your family, your friends, the people who cross your path. And don't listen to the noise.